Hello and welcome to the Pinch Masterclass series. This is our first webinar for our new format of Masterclass series focused on new client training. The session is designed to ensure that you know how to use all of the Pinch systems to their absolute best, with best practice guides, as well as a detailed look into how each of the systems function, so that you can achieve the goals that you're looking to achieve with Pinch payments when we talk about taking payments with your organization. So welcome for anyone watching along live. Hello. For anyone watching along after the fact, that is also perfectly fine. And we'll have this video uploaded onto our Pinch channel, as well as our YouTube channel as well, so that you can watch back from any of your preferred locations. All right. I'm going to give you a quick introduction to myself. So my name is Cameron Taylor. I'm our product education lead here at Pinch Payments. As the slide suggests, my entire goal here at Pinch is to ensure that you have up-to-date information and the highest quality training resources available to you. One of the areas in which we will achieve that is through these sessions, ensuring that you are able to understand how the Pinch system works, as well as keep up to date with new features and news happening related to Pinch. So that's my goal. I also have Chloe, who's our head of merchant success and experience, sitting in on the chat. She'll be able to answer any of your questions as well. I can see Chloe's message in the chat already, which is fantastic. So for those of you watching from home as well, you won't be able to see the chat, but you will be able to reach out to us, engage, and ask any questions that you have about any of the topics that we cover today. So getting straight into it, this is what we're going to be covering today, and more importantly, repeatably, whenever we run these sessions every month for our new users. So 4 main things. We're going to ensure that you understand and know how payment links work on your invoices, so that you can get your clients' invoices paid when you send them an invoice from your accounting system or some other connected connected software integrations. The second thing that we're going to be covering is our auto debits and save payments system. So this is something called a pre-approval in Pinch. And I'll show you all the different ways that you can invite clients to that or let your clients self-enroll. And then also how you can use those either automatically or more manually to execute on the payments that you're after. The third area that we'll be talking about is our payment plans. So payment plans will basically allow you to either enroll your customer into a payment plan that lets them chop up their invoice, or you can also do and manage subscriptions if you're a company that does sort of variable recurring billing. I will be able to show you how that works as well. And then the last thing is it's just a little bit of sort of housekeeping, making sure that you've set up and understand what your various account settings in the system do, and how you can turn things on or off to change the behavior of how Pinch operates in conjunction with your connected accounting system. So that's everything that we're going to be covering today. For those following along, I think we have a few people in the chat as well. Welcome. Hopefully this session will answer all of your questions. If at any point as I'm going through each of the sections and covering the material, definitely ask questions if you have any. It is better for you to do so now than reach out to us confused about having attended this session. So that's literally what this session is for, is ensuring that you can get your questions answered and you understand the system. So let's kick off with our first topic. So the first topic that we're going to be discussing is the invoice payment links. So invoice payment links allow you to embed a link into your invoice from your accounting software, that when you send your invoice from your accounting software, your client will be able to follow the payment link and make either a card or direct debit payment straight from that link. Now, if you are a business that is already using some form of online payment gateway, you are probably familiar with this type of service. All of the gateways pretty much work the same way when it comes to how they embed with the accounting system, be it Stripe, be it PayPal, be it eWay, be it, whatever gateway you're using. They all pretty much work the same way. As general information for you, if you are new to the system, if you are using Xero, this payment link is connected and activated automatically when you apply your payment gateway pinch to your chosen branding theme. Now, that's a specific feature that is only available to Xero users. So that's the concept of branding themes. Think of them like different colored pieces of paper and being able to send a client a red piece of paper and a blue piece of paper for different types of service. Unfortunately, QuickBooks and MyHub don't have that concept. So their payment link needs to be more manually set up, and I'll briefly explain how that works. But ultimately, the idea of this is to give you a very easy method by which to ask and request your customer to pay you. Now, it's not the most effective way that I'm going to show you today about how you can get your invoices paid on time, but it is a way. And if you're typically have been asking your clients for EFT payments and you put your BSB and account number on your invoice template, this is going to be a far superior way of ensuring that your customer pays you, because you're not only going to still offer them the ability to pay via their bank account with a direct debit, but you're also going to be able to allow them to pay via card if they choose to do so. I'll cover some of the specific settings that will relate to this, things like the ability to surcharge payments and things like that as well. So if I don't immediately answer questions about that straight away, I will circle back to how you can set surcharging to interact with this and other features. But first strokes, I'm gonna talk more about how the function works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up on my screen a test environment. You should all be able to see that now. And Chloe, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see that, just to make sure it's all working for me? You there, Chloe? I cannot hear you. I think you're muted. So that's all right. Hopefully it's there on the screen. It looks like it is for me. So hopefully that's all rocking and rolling. Anyone in the chat, are you able to tell me? Yep, Jen, we can see. Awesome. Thank you, Jen, for confirming that for me. And hopefully everyone can hear me all right as well. So let's get stuck in. This is a pinch account that is connected to Xero. Now, irrelevant the fact that it's connected to Xero. So if you come watching this session and you're connected to QuickBooks or MyOb or potentially another one of our loosely supported systems, all of the above will be the same. So what is a payment link? A payment link in in Pinch, if we head to our Payments tab and we go and find a random invoice and click into that invoice, it's this here. Now, this is how you can actually open the Pinch payment link from within the Pinch system, which I'll just quickly open and load here and share. This same link that I've now opened up on this Pinch page is the same link that when you send the client their invoice, be it on QuickBooks, MyOb, or Xero, when your client clicks the button on your physical invoice or in the email that says, click here to pay online, that link will take your customer to this page, right? This is our Pinch payment page, and this is where all of our payment-related things for one-off payments are managed. So from this page, you can see a few things. We can see a little bit of info about your organization, this specific invoice and when it's due, the client, and the description of the line items, payment amount, and everything like that. Now, pardon me. From here, what you'll see is your client has two options. Now, these are the default two options. So this is card and bank account. You can configure to not offer either one of these if you only want to, say, for example, collect card payments or only collect bank account payments. It's up to you. But 99% of businesses will choose to offer both. And as you see here, if I was a client and I decided that I wanted to pay this invoice in full with my card, all I need to do is checkbox the checkbox, fill in the details, and make that payment. It's as simple as that. That is as quick as it is for your customer to be able to be sent an invoice, follow a link, and make an ad hoc payment for that invoice in full. All right. Now, a couple little extra things here that I'll tease out in some of the other feature components is you can actually have your customer allow themselves to self-enroll into the pre-approval. So they can actually choose to do this, right? You can also choose to surcharge either or neither of or both of the payment methods and pass on the processing fee to your client in the form of a surcharge. As well as that, and I'll mention this more specifically in the payment plan section, which is the third section we'll cover today, is you can actually configure your payment plans to be opt-in for your clients. So they can actually choose if that's relevant for them and they can self-enroll into this payment from the Pay Now page. So whenever you see anything in Pinch referring to the Pay Now page or the Pay Now experience or a customer initiated payment, this is the page that we are referring to, right? So upon making a payment, what you'll see is back here in Pinch, I'll go and find a payment. You will be able to see the invoice marked as successful. So it will have been successfully paid, right? With whatever payment method. So in this case, Visa, credit card, Mastercard, Amex, and when you click into that invoice, you'll be able to see exactly when it was paid. You'll be able to see that the system has marked that invoice as paid in your accounting software. And if you're a Xero user specifically, you'll also be able to whip up the Xero history to see a little bit more granular detail. But from here, this is really the one-stop shop for all information about what has happened with a one-off payment, right? For Pay Now. So that's the Pay Now feature. Quickly talking about how you configure this. So in the case of a Xero account, you actually configure this down here in your Xero config. And all that needs to be configured is when you first set up your Pinch account, on whichever branding themes you want Pinch to work on and have that Pay Now function, you just need to ensure that this first column is activated. So you can see here in this example, we have two different invoice types, a standard and a test. If I sent a standard invoice to my client right now, they would see the Pinch payment link on it. However, if I sent them a Xero test or this test invoice, they would not see Pinch as a payment option on that invoice. And this allows you to be specific about how you do and don't want Pinch to interact with your client payments, depending on what your specific business case or use case is. Right. So hopefully that makes sense. The last thing to briefly mention about the Pay Now page is much like your customer being able to make that payment, right, when you send the invoice to them, you as the merchant also have some pretty fun functionality, which allows you to, from within the Pinch UI, open up an invoice, like I showed you before to demonstrate the feature, but you can actually input the details on behalf of your customer. So you can actually call up or be face-to-face with your client and actually have them or help facilitate them make this payment whilst you have them on the phone or face-to-face. So this is typically referred to as a MOTO or virtual terminal payment, where a team member, be them face-to-face or virtually, are assisting the client in making that payment, maybe by transposing the details over the phone or whatever process it is. Now, obviously, system-wise, we allow you to do this. In terms of consent and authority, that's handled on your side. So I would suggest that when or if you do this, to make sure that you are actually communicating with your client that you are doing this for them and that you have their consent to do so, just to ensure that they are aware of you doing this for them or with them. Right. But it does allow you to do these things. And this can be a really effective tool to help you get your invoices paid, where you have a either on-site staff member or an accounts team member calling up clients to assist them making the payment. And at the same time that you're inputting the details and making the payment, you can actually stop at this point and ask them if they would be comfortable with you saving their payment details and using them to automatically debit them in future instead of making one-off payments like this. So that's sort of an extended set of features that are available by nature of this platform. This brings me on to my whole next section. So from here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little quick break as I move from this section onto the next and just double check that there's no questions that need to be answered. So I'm just going to dip back to my main screen. And I am going to just bring up the next section. Beauty. Cool. All right, let me quickly check the chat. Looks like Chloe's all over it. Fantastic. All right, nothing that needs me directly, so that's all good. Cool. Alrighty, so that's the Pay Now functionality. The next thing that moves us on to is our auto debits and stored payment methods. Now, when we at Pinch refer to an auto debit, unlike what a lot of companies do, where that is specifically for bank account payments only, one of the amazing things that distinguishes Pinch from other providers is that we combine both cards and bank accounts into the same flow that allows you to automatically charge your customer, pardon me, by saving that payment method and then using it to execute a payment. So when Pinch refers to an auto debit, that could be a card being automatically charged or a bank account being automatically charged. There is no specific distinction on that. So that's what we mean with auto debits. The term that we actually use that encapsulates the whole process of saving a payment method and using it is a pre-approval. So that's the terminology that we use. Now, a pre-approval, very simply, is you inviting your client or filling out with your client the pre-approval form, right, which is an online payment capture form. And that will authorize you to save and use their payment method to automatically charge them whenever there is an invoice due. So in an optimal world, if you think about this a little bit more high level, if you had 100% of your customers on pre-approval, whenever you would raise an invoice, our system would see that we have the customer on pre-approval, and we, on the due date, would attempt to charge their saved card or bank account for the invoice in full, automatically for you, without either you or your customer needing to do any additional opening of things, confirming of things, activating of things, right? The pre-approval really is a one and done solution where just once you invite them to and save the payment method, and then from there, you can use that to automatically charge them ongoing. It is without a doubt the single most powerful feature of the Pinch payment system. And it is single-handedly responsible for solving a lot of our client problems when people come to us and start using Pinch over other gateways. The pre-approval is the absolute solution for your organization to get on top of late payments or non-payment. The most effective method, so before I show you all the various ways that you can do it and invite someone to pre-approval, the most effective way to properly use the pre-approval feature as an organization is when you are onboarding new clients, you make pre-approval and the saving of that payment method a requirement of doing service with you. That is the single most effective way to ensure that you as an organization have a payment method for that customer and you have the ability to charge it, right? So hopefully gone would be the days of you sending out an invoice and doing the old, hope they pay me, right? And then you're spending, a week, 2 weeks chasing them up with that outstanding invoices that they've not paid you or they've forgotten to pay you and they give you the sob story or whatever it is about why they've not paid you. By getting a pre-approval up front and being transparent to your clients that is your expectation and that is how you take payments in your organization, I am confident that if you sent me a number and say, hey, Cam, I have $80,000 in outstanding payments right now, I can confidently say to you that number will be well and truly less, probably half or less within a very short space of time if you adopt these philosophies, right, of how you do payments. So that's pre-approval in a nutshell. So I'm going to show you now what that looks like inside of the system. So to invite customers to pre-approval, there's actually a few different ways that you can do so. The first way is by heading to the Customers tab and finding either the customer or collection of customers that you would like to send a pre-approval. So in this case, I'm just going to grab 1, 2, 3 customers, and I'm going to click this button up here that says Send Pre-Approval. What this does is it will send an email from Pinch to your client on your behalf that basically requests them to set up their auto debit payment method. The actual body of and subject line of that email can be altered. You have full customization privilege on that email, and that's found in the account settings, and I'll cover that later. But it does come from our domain. And sending this email All that your client needs to do is click the link, and it will take them to the pre-approval page that I'm about to show you, where they input their details. It's that simple, right? Now, a lot of businesses will often do a little bit of a blast to their customers first. So when they first sign up to Pinch, right? I've got 285 customers. I might choose to go and say, any customer that has not already been sent a pre-approval in my filters that I have invoiced in the last 60 days that has an email address. And I can see that I get 152 records. I, as a business, might choose to select all 152 clients and send all 152 clients a pre-approval request, right? This is a really good, just low touch way of gathering a few pre-approvals, because quite a number of the clients that you send this to will just set it up. And if you customize the email and make it quite, gripping and, communicative of what you're trying to solve as a problem in your organization, it will drastically improve the likelihood that you get customers setting this up. Right. So that's the first method. That's the bulk blast. The second method is, instead of doing bulk blast, you can individually click into customers. And from here, you can do a couple of things. The first is, if you want to embed this pre-approval request into a contract or some sort of document that you're going to issue and get your client to sign, you can copy the URL and paste it into your chosen document as you send these onboarding packs or documents or contracts out to your client. And you can just make it a step of that process to ensure that you gather that detail, right? Alternatively, you could just copy it and email it to them, right? Or and the one that I really like, if you have the capacity to do so, is you can actually, much like I showed you that you can take a payment on behalf of the client from the payment page, the Pay Now experience, you can also click the Launch Pre-Approval page, and you can actually open up the pre-approval from within the Pinch system and fill out these details when you've got your customer on the phone or face-to-face, right? So if you're watching this video back and you are a professional services industry, or you're a domestic services industry, say, for example, domestic cleaning, pool servicing, lawn mowing, those sorts of services, tradie even, this method by which to actually activate a pre-approval is really, really effective when you attend site, right? You do your first clean, the client goes, yep, I'm happy with this service. I would like to be your client ongoing now. You can literally jump into Pinch, find the customer record if you have one. If not, you can create one as well, straight from within Pinch or your accounting software. Open up the pre-approval and literally hand the iPad or the iPhone or the laptop over, or just get them to transpose those details to you. And you can fill in the pre-approval and activate that with them right here. Right. So that's a really, really powerful tool. So they're the main methods by which we can gather pre-approvals. As a side note to this, we do have a variety of integrations or third-party systems that connect with the Pinch system that allow you to do more bespoke ways of gathering pre-approvals. Some examples of this are software companies like Anature, who are a e-signatures business that allow you to capture their payment method when you issue their contracts, which are they call them envelopes, but they're contracts or document signing tool. Another example is Onboard Me, who are a client onboarding tool that allows you to fully manage the onboarding of your client into your services. They're another example of a piece of software that lets you capture payment details and they flow through as a pre-approval into Pinch. So we do support a variety of different systems that allow you to ingest that information as a pre-approval into Pinch as well. And nothing is stopping you from building your own or using programs like Zapier to actually take, say, for example, a PandaDoc contract or something like that, and take that information and turn it into a pre-approval via our Zapier integration as well. So there's a lot of things that are possible if you need more bespoke setup. So that's a pre-approval. What I'll do now is I'll just come back into the Pinch system and I will show you what it looks like on the sort of payments coordination side of a pre-approval. So I'm going to head to my customers section. I'm going to filter for active pre-approvals. And I can see here that I have 23 active pre-approvals for all of these clients. I'm just going to jump into one of these called Whitney, scroll down to my customer details section. And from here, you'll be able to see details about the pre-approval. So you can see here that they have an unlimited pre-approval on a visa that expires on this date. From here, if the client needs to update their payment details for any reason, you can actually send them the request. You can also cancel the pre-approval if it is needed. And you can also copy the link directly back so that your client can review what details they gave you, just the ending for, not the actual raw data. And then ultimately what happens with pre-approvals is whenever we have a payment method, a pre-approval, and Xero, QuickBooks, Maya, whatever system that you're using to push invoices into Pinch, whenever we have a new invoice that's due, say, for example, we have an invoice that's due tomorrow, and I'm just using this Pinch Payments payment creation tool to just quickly create an invoice, right? Let's say it's for $500, and this is called Webinar Test 500. Whenever an invoice gets created in your accounting software and it syncs over to Pinch automatically for you, our system will check the due date. If the due date is today or in the future, it will automatically schedule it to be auto debited. So if we head down now to our scheduled payments section for this client, we will be able to see our webinar test invoice is here and has an active pre-approval, meaning that you as the business know that our system is going to come along and attempt to charge this customer on the 22nd. So you can see here that obviously this client has already been auto debited for a few transactions that have happened, earlier this month, and only a few days ago as well. So this is literally this system in effect working right now, automatically charging this client for these debits. This alone is the most powerful feature in Pinch, and if you can, and you have the confidence to, and you want to properly solve payments in your organization, pre-approvals is the solution. So I highly recommend you to think about adopting a process of requiring pre-approvals in your organization, or heavily pushing your customers to provide you with a pre-approval, right? I'll show you later in this video a couple of cheeky things that you can do to try and incentivize that as well with some of the advanced config. So that's pre-approvals in a nutshell. How am I doing for time? 28 minutes in. Cool. So the next thing that we're going to talk about, and I'll swap to my slide here and I'll just check for any questions. Yeah, beauty looks like nothing that I need to answer. Looks like it's all being covered pretty well. Nice work, Chloe. All right, so the next thing that we're going to talk about is payment plans. So this is our payment plans and subscriptions feature. Two different features, effectively. The first one is subscriptions. So our subscriptions feature allows you to create a schedule of payments that automatically get debited from your customer. And you can have those either generate an invoice that goes over to your accounting system, or generate an invoice each time a payment happens, right? So that you have separate invoices per payment. You can configure that how you wish, but that will allow you to, if you want to do, subscription billing models, you can configure custom subscriptions and allow you to do that. And I'll briefly show you how that works. But the real power feature here in this overarching feature band is our invoice breakdown plans. So invoice breakdown plans are a really, really powerful tool. And you got a little bit of a hint of them from the Pay Now page where you could see all those payment plans as options. An invoice breakdown plan allows you to invite your client's invoice to be chopped up into more than one payment, or potentially do partial payments like deposit payments or milestone payments. So what this looks like is you head to the plans and subscriptions feature on the left-hand side here, click add payment plan. And from here, you can select from the different types of payment plans that can be built. So these two first examples here are the subscription feature, and you are either generate an invoice per payment, or you generate a single invoice and then apply payments to it over time. So in this case here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to generate a single invoice for my subscription. And over time, Pinch is going to eat away at that invoice as we make subscription payments towards it. I am going to set up the template that I want the invoice to be generated on, the chart of account, and I'm going to call this webinar test video sub, right? So this will be, imagine that this is for a business that does subscriptions for like online editing services or something, right? I can create my subscription, and maybe this specific package is called the plat package, right? Like the platinum package. All you need to do to set up the subscription with either of these two first features is you just need to define your start date or specific day of the month that you want the subscription to bill on, and whether or not you're doing fixed or variable payments, fixed or recurring payments. So in this case here, I'm expecting to debit my client the same amount of money every fortnight, for example. So I'm going to select from the recurring payment. And in this case here, this subscription is $89 a fortnight. And I would like this amount to repeat every 14 days for fortnight. And in this particular case, the platinum package lasts for a grand total of 20 fortnights. Just a random number, right? That is all that you need to do to configure a subscription. So upon configuring it, you just hit create. And once this subscription is created, you can now invite your subscribers to it. And the way to do that is from within the subscription, which you can, if I go back to the plans and subscriptions tool, you can see here my subscription, and I click into that, and that's the page that it takes you to after you've built it. And all you need to do is hit this add subscriber button over on the right-hand side to add your subscriber. Say, for example, I'm just going to grab Malcolm Greer, or maybe someone with an email address. Oh, I seem to have lost the ability to click things. Let's try again. Let's try Jacob. Jacob also doesn't have one, so let's just jacob.ruvus at. And I am going to create that subscription for Jacob. So Jacob's now been enrolled into this subscription. The important part here to know is that Pinch will send this client a subscription activation request email, because your client now needs to approve this subscription and give you their payment method to activate that subscription. So what that ends up looking like is, if we click into here and we launch the subscription sign up page, which is the same link that your client gets that requests them to activate the subscription, much like our Pay Now page and our pre-approvals that you can do on behalf of your clients, you can also open these pages and fill them out with your client, right? So you can see here that Jacob now can see that the subscription is $89 for this amount, starts immediately and repeats every 14 days for a total of 20 payments, right? Jacob can now choose if he wants that to be debited from his card or bank account and activate and confirm that subscription. Once a subscription has been confirmed, both you and the client receive a confirmation, and that client will then appear in your subscriptions list with an active subscription. So in this case here, we would have Abbott Sylvia, who has an active subscription, or maybe most importantly, I'll grab someone who has had some payments. Whitney, maybe. There we go. Whitney's a better example. So Whitney has activated their subscription and they have paid this amount towards their subscription, right? So you can actually manage and view who's on what subscription. In this case here, I can see that I have 3 clients on my Pay in 9 weekly, and they're all on active subscriptions, right? So that's how you build a subscription. The second part is building invoice breakdown plans. Now, an invoice breakdown plan is actually what we're looking at right here, which is payments are recorded against an existing invoice. The context of this is if you already have an invoice that's been built in your accounting system and you now want to chop up that invoice, not create a new one, the way to do that is head to the plans and subscriptions feature, add payment plan, and you're going to choose the third option here, which is break down an existing invoice. The settings for this are slightly different, and ultimately they do lead to you being able to do a little bit more customization. The important part here is that you can do both fixed and variable payments. Say, for example, if you need to do just 25% the value of the invoice once as like a deposit, you can do that. You could also do 25% followed by a further 75% for the remainder, right? Later. So, say, for example, if straight away you need to take a deposit, but after 3 months, pardon me, you expect to take the remaining amount from the invoice, you can configure that. Or, and most commonly, you'll want to be splitting an invoice up into a set number of payments. And that way, when you have that payment plan built more generically to just chop up any size of invoice up into equal payments, you can use it very flexibly. So an example of this might be, we're going to say pay in 12 weekly. So you might be chopping your client's invoice up into 12 weekly payments, weekly. All you need to do is name your payment plan and create a recurring invoice schedule of 12 payments that happen every 7 days. That's it. That's all you need to do to build an invoice breakdown plan that you can then invite people's invoices to, that chops them up into 12 equal weekly payments, regardless of how big that invoice is. The system will calculate the amount per client's invitation. Now, the last little extra bit of functionality, and this is what I alluded to on the Pay Now page, is you can actually choose to allow your clients to self-enroll into these payment plans if you choose to give them that option. And all you need to do to allow that functionality is build the invoice breakdown plan like you normally would, and then specify if you want that payment plan to be opt-in and either which template it wants to be displayed on, or if you only want to show it to clients with invoices over a certain dollar amount. Now, the logic there being, if someone has a $200 invoice, you don't really want to give them the ability to pay a $200 invoice in 10 payments of $20, right? Doesn't really make sense at that price point. So this really does suit you being able to customize offering these payment plans to those larger invoices that are more likely to not get paid on time. And this can give you some really good flexibility. So if I was to configure this payment plan like this and I hit create, if I now go and find an invoice and I'm the customer, so there's two ways to enroll in this case. If I go and find an invoice for, say, more than $1,000, let's grab this $4,400 one, and I am the customer, you'll now be able to see my pay. Oh, I've just unshared my screen. Not sure what happened there. Should be able to see that now. So from here, I'm back on that invoice page. So I'm the customer. I've opened up my invoice. From here, you'll be able to see that I can either pay in full, or that pay in 12 payment plan that we just built would allow me to self-enroll into this payment plan by clicking the select plan button. All right. So that's option one. This is where you've now configured the payment plan for your client to see and opt into. Or, I'm about to sneeze. I apologize. Maybe not. Oh. From here, alternatively, you as the merchant can choose who you invite this payment plan to by going and finding the invoice. And you'll see here on the right-hand side, payment plan. So from here, I can click payment plan. I can choose which payment plan I want to enroll my client into, and I can create that payment plan. And that invites this client, again, sending them an email invitation, inviting them to this activate the payment plan. And you can see here that the system is automatically chopping up this invoice into the necessary amounts. And your client will, based on what payment method they choose, be deducted on that bank account over the course of this schedule of payments. So that's the payment plans feature. Really, really powerful tool. Highly recommend businesses to just create 2 or 3 payment plans that are generic options that they let their clients choose from. If you're a business that is doing like very low value frequent invoicing, probably not very relevant for you to offer opt-in payment plans. However, if you do have a client that is starting to really, really fall behind on a collection of payments, some of our merchants historically have basically bundled all those invoices up into one invoice and then assigned that invoice to a payment plan to allow that client to kind of get locked into being back on top of their payments while you still conduct other services for them. Um, Otherwise, building a suite of opt-in payment plans for really high value invoices so that in the event that you issue a client a very, very expensive invoice, you're still giving them the option of paying you in full or choosing from their own flexible payment term that you're offering them that fits within your desired parameters. So that's the important part there. That's really everything to show you on the payment plans front. I am starting to run out of time here because I have gone into such length. So we're going to quickly now whip on to just covering the last thing, which is advanced config settings. So this includes things like surcharging, your reattempt policy, and where you can customize your various notifications from. I'll keep this part short, sharp, and sweet because I'm basically going to point to where you can change these things, and they're all found within here. So where I'm referring to is here in the account settings. You can customize a variety of things. The first one is from the Getting Paid tab. You can choose whether you do or don't accept one of our payments types, but you can also set whether you do or don't pass on surcharges to your client. And a really cool feature as well is our absorb fees on pre-approvals feature. So if you're an organization that's tried to get customers involved in using pre-approvals, but you're struggling, consider thinking about this feature. What this feature does is if you are normally surcharging your customer, say for credit card, and they open up an invoice, if you enable this feature, what you're effectively doing is you're overriding that setting if they give you a pre-approval or have a pre-approval set up. This feature is designed to reward your customer in giving you the pre-approval because we have so much data that proves that if someone is on pre-approval, they are more likely to pay you, right? So if you're an organization struggling with late payment or non-payment, yes, you're going to be paying some fees, but holistically, it is going to be costing you less in terms of the time that you waste chasing that customer and the effort that you put dedicating resources into that instead of doing your normal job, right, and conducting your service. You are absolutely going to save money absorbing all the fees for all your clients on pre-approval, because ultimately having pre-approval is going to drastically increase the likelihood that you get that invoice paid to begin with. And that's really what Pinch is trying to solve for you. We're trying to get your invoice paid on time every time, right? That is the goal of the system. So have a think about that. The next area is reattempt settings. So if you have a client on pre-approval and we attempt to charge them once and it fails, you can configure the system to reattempt a number of times, a number of days after the failure. Really good to have on if you just want the system to do a little bit of that heavy lifting for you. The next setting is you can customize a variety of our page custom text. So you noticed in a couple of places, if you watch back this video, you'll notice that you can apply custom text is present in the pay now and pre-approval and subscription enrollment pages. You can customize that text here. So some merchants kind of put a little bit of a, hey, please, this is our preferred payment method. We really appreciate you setting this up. Other merchants are like, this is a requirement. If this is not set up after 30 days of you coming on board as our client, we won't do business with you. You know, I've seen all sorts of ends of the spectrum with what people put in here. But as well as that, you can also include a terms and conditions link. This can be your own terms and conditions link. I've just used our own Pinch one here just to show that the feature works. This adds like they must, by continuing, they are consenting to these terms and conditions. It adds that as a footer note to the pre-approval. As well as that, you can also customize a bunch of the emails, as I said, from the Pinch system in here. And there's last two areas that I'm going to tell you about for just quality of life features with Pinch. The next one is our notifications hub. So the notifications hub allows you to set which email addresses receive which types of email communications from Pinch. The Pinch system, when it's really working, you've got a lot of customers doing it, will send quite a number of emails because we're obviously telling you about payments and failures and settlements and all these things. You can basically specify that I only want this email address. Say, for example, me, cam at camco, right? Cam.co or something like that. Maybe I only want to receive information about pre-approvals. Maybe the bad payments when things don't go right, like they fail. And I want to know when someone activates a subscription, I can set that up. And now Cam at Camco will only receive payments with issues type emails, pre-approval type emails, and subscription type emails. All right. So if you're a new staff member and you've been added as a user in the Pinch system, definitely jump into the email notifications hub here under notifications and go and add yourself to what emails you want to receive to your email address. The last area, of customization is for 0 users. So for 0 users, this is specifying whether or not you do or don't want something to automatically debit on a particular branding theme. This is where you configure if Pinch is your default gateway, if you allow customers to opt into pre-approvals themselves, and if you want us to even automatically charge that template. If you don't select monitor for auto debit and it is turned off on a template, Pinch will not automatically debit that type of invoice. It will require you to find the invoice in either the payments list. Wait for this to load. And either manually process it if it didn't have active, say, for example, it had inactive, but it had a checkbox. You can manually process those payments. Or with your outstanding payments, you can do the same, right? You can bundle up payments to be processed. So that's if you don't have monitor for auto debit on, our system will not automatically use the pre-approval to charge your client. Auto debit needs to be on. Cool. That's everything that I have to show in terms of content for new users. These are the really important things. Just as some last housekeeping and general information for you. This is our, maybe I'll change my slide tile style. There we go. It's all better. This is our Pinch customer success team. So we have Chloe, who's obviously joined us in the chat today, who's our head of customer success and experience. We have Joe, who is our head of growth, who's all of our bosses and runs a lot of the things here at Pinch Payments. You've obviously got myself, so product education lead. So I'm here to sort of educate you on how the system works. We've also got Sam Stewart, who is our senior product manager. He's the one who coordinates between the growth team and the development team to implement new features and update fixes and manage improving the Pinch system. And then we also have Anna, who runs our support process here at Pinch. So if you've ever raised a support ticket, historically, you would have dealt with myself. But more recently, you'll be dealing with Anna. So that's our customer success team. So they're the faces behind everything happening here at Pinch Payments. The last slide I have is just a extra helpful information slide. So if you want to take a look at more compartmentalized videos that run through the various features that we've covered today in even more granular detail, we have a YouTube training series. You can also watch back past webinars like this one from the middle QR code. And we also have our awesome knowledge base with all our detailed step-by-step articles and guides on how to use our various features. So that's everything that we have to cover today. Sorry that we've gone a little bit over time. I will now just jump into the chat and double check that there's not any questions to answer. If you've been watching along at home, thank you very much. Look forward to hopefully seeing you on one of our live events. We run these every fortnight. We do a new training, new user training masterclass, and we also do a high-level existing merchant or partner webinar, which is focused on sort of talking a little bit more high level about broader concepts around payments, important business news about how that might impact your cash flow and using Pinch to overcome those problems. So thank you all for joining. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Chloe, for operating the chat for me and answering those questions. And thank you all, and have a lovely, lovely afternoon. All right. Bye.